Final word of wisdom. We are coming at the end of the session. Here is my secret recipe for professional success. I've been mentoring young professional, senior as well for many years. People ask specific career advice, which I have been giving them all along. However, this time I thought that I will consolidate my thoughts on career success tips and tricks into 5 specific streams and provide taglines against each of them so that it becomes a good takeaway for you after this session. So that here are my 5 success tips. Number 1 to 5. Let's talk about number 1. Identify if you are in career or job. Number 2, reduce your unused inventory. Number 3, knowledge versus skills versus competencies. Probably we are talking this thing third time. Number 4 is, if you want career success good, then you have to be good at managing office politics as well. So number 4 is manage office politics. And at last, manage 5. At last, number 5, that is, there is always a word away where you are now. Never underestimate power of escape key on your keyboard. With that, let's jump to each and every trick and tip in detail now. Starting with job versus career. You need to ask yourself a question. That is there a career path for you in your current organization? In other words, do you have a growth in your current organization for long term? Ask yourself a simple question again. Will one day you will be able to get relocated to head office of your organization you are currently working for? Will you eventually become CXO or vice president position in your company head office or not? If the answer to your question is yes, then you are pursuing a career path in your current organization. And if the answer to your question is no, then whatever you are doing in your office is just a job. A job of 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 9 to 7. And you need to quit the job as soon as possible and identify a career path for yourself. Always remember that employer and employee relationship should be of mutual benefit, that too in long term. If you don't see your current employment in terms of long-term benefit, then it is not worth to do so much hard work in your current job. You should rather focus to find a place where you can find rewarding career in long term. Now next trick is reduce your unused inventory. Let me give you a small example to start with. At the time of giving this session, I am working in Delhi National Capital Region. In last few days, despite good real estate market, developers in Delhi, National Capital Region, real estate industry has gone out of business. Many of developers. When I eventually looked at failed organization, I have found one thing quite common across such failed organization, and it was that they all were sitting on used pile of inventories. In other words, so many of failed real estate developers were having non-monetized land banks, under construction houses, villas, and flats. So that was quite common in that. So what I want to highlight that they failed. However, they had a lot of they were not like they were running out of assets. They had assets, but the problem of the asset was they were having a lot of unused inventory. Similarly, I have seen this phenomena with lot of unsuccessful professionals. Many times, such unsuccess or reasonably low successful professional possesses certain skill set, competencies, knowledge. However, they never utilize their knowledge to fullest extent to get into career benefit. Rather, they choose to criticize current working environment, their bosses, and eventually they fail their organization to get benefited from what they know, what competency they have. And in return, they don't get benefit from their organization also. So you need to avoid such situation. Whatever skill, competency, ability, talent you have, you should give the best shot to your current job so that your bosses are happy, your company is doing, good use of your talent, and eventually you are getting reward in return. Sometimes, despite having good skills, knowledge, ability, and competence, people don't get opportunity to implement them in their ongoing employment. This may be due to the reason that they are not able to sell their skill, talent, and competencies within their organization. If you are into such situation, you have to improve upon your marketing skill. You got to talk to your senior, your bosses in an organization. You need to demonstrate that you possess some specific skills and you want to utilize them to the benefit of organization. Note that your skill and talent has no value until it is sold to your employer. Unused inventories, as I gave example, holds no value. Now let's get into the next tip. Knowledge versus skill versus competency. We are talking many times here in this session about these three terms. On this screen, I have a photograph of a astronaut. Now the question, let's quickly have a look why I'm giving example of astronaut. Astronauts are the one who go to space, and they are good at their skill. If there's someone who is flying planes or fighter planes, they have given job to ride the rocket which goes to space. So what is important here is that in order to be successful in their career or in order to get the best out of your career, you need not to only have knowledge and a skill, but you need to have something very important, that is competency. So the competency is something that comes from your ability to implement your skills, knowledge, abilities, and talent for the benefit of organization. Remember that knowledge and skills of no benefit to organization, only your competency matter. Your ability to produce using your knowledge and skill should be your prime focus rather than gaining certification degree which are not much use of your employer largely in large situations. Now, let's talk to the next tip. That is manage office politics. Oh, some people get offended when I start to talk about office politics. This is a topic where quote unquote good professional want to avoid. And even organization want to keep this topic under the carpet. However, in practical terms, note that office politics is a reality. You should never let office politics manipulate you. You should never let exploitative bosses get work done from you without giving you proper reward and credit of work what you have been doing. If you see working environment is overly toxic and you are not getting benefit from the hard work you are putting in, you got to talk or you got to walk out. When it's come to office politics and the situation where you see that the justice is not been done with you, the solution is you got to talk to the matter with your boss first and then with HR and deal it directly and confront directly. And if you see despite your best effort to deal with office politics, you are still a victim of it, and you are not getting benefited from all the work you have been doing for the organization you are working for, here comes the next and final word of wisdom for you. And that is, sorry, there is always a word away from you where you are now. Your current employment is not end of the world. There is always escape button on your keyboard. If you see that you are stuck in a job and you are working for paychecks to paychecks without any growth, and you don't see a career in your current employment, it is just a job. You are working in a non-conducive environment, where you are victim of office politics, and there is no learning to get to next step of the ladder, of next step of your career ladder. Then you may consider finding a new word away from your current word now. Find a new job, find a new career which you think is rewarding for you. Don't just get victim of the circumstances. So that was the 5 tips for you. And now with this, we are completing the session on how to supercharge your project controls career. And now we will quickly jump to Q&A session. Stop.